Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Flannel Channel. I'm Philip. I'm glad you're here hanging out today with
Ron Heim.
And this is a little bit of a part two. I want to show you guys this truck because I made a video of this truck years ago. It's right here on the channel, and Ron's going to tell us more about this truck and what's about to happen to it. So it's going to be a fun episode. Stick around. Let's do this. Perfect. So Ron, tell me about yourself and then tell me about the project.
So I worked at Michaletz Trucking here for too many years. Anyway, I saw this truck make its last run, which was back in 1984. And so then it got parked in the yard, and it's like not knowing that that was going to be the last run, but it never got ran again. And so it just sat out in the back 40. And so Philip, like say on the previous video, seen it back in the back 40. And like you mentioned, someday it was going to get in here. And so, you know, this was the year to finally get this one in. So it is a 1965, and so it's an H1000 Ford. And the fun thing about it is that Michaletz bought this brand new. And so it was ordered from Boyer Trucks, and Don actually went and bought it, or went down and picked it up from the factory himself. And so they had started a business back in '63 called Polyplastics, and then in '64 they needed a truck, and so '65 they bought a truck.
Wow.
And so then after that, you know, that was what didn't keep it busy, so then it became a road truck. And so it went from, he said he was hauling engine parts down to Texas, and then he'd bring fruits and vegetables and that kind of stuff back up from Texas. And so it was making a weekly run down there. And
that makes sense because I remember seeing something Texas related on the truck.
Yeah, so it's got the logos or the numbers and everything for Texas, Oklahoma, and all that stuff. So
there it is. Wow. I didn't realize this truck has been in the fleet this entire time that they bought it new.
So basically Don put or the company put every mile on this truck. And he took a train down to Texas, or down to Chicago, and a bus down to Louisville, and picked it right up from the Ford factory down there.
Wow. Amazing. Now, these trucks have a nickname, don't they?
Yeah, the two-story Falcons, because I mean the Ford Falcons were out about that time or whatever, and so they called them the two stories. And kind of like you said in the video, they share the cab with the C model. It is different than the C model, but like you say, that toolbox area there. I just pulled the cover off yesterday because I'm like, oh, I wonder what's in there.
Sure. Yep. And that's this piece right here.
Yeah. Yep. And so got that opened up and found, you know, it's like the cable was broken on the for the latch, so I had to take the rivets off. But anyway, so it did its service up until like I said, 1984 was its last run, I guess you'd say, which was local or whatever. But
and is it gasoline powered?
It is gasoline powered, and so it's got a. I'll tilt the cab here in a little bit, but
great.
It's got a Super Duty 534 engine in it, which is the biggest block. You know, they got away from the Y block and went to the Super Duty V8s, and so it's the biggest V8 they made. Put out 227 horses, I think they said, and like 450 pounds of torque or something. So they had high torque. They were not a high RPM motor, but you know, they would only top out like at 3,200, 3,500 RPMs or whatever. So.
And what transmission is in it?
Well, that's another story. This one's got a 10-speed transmission in it, but it's not the original transmission. And so it had a 5 and a 4 two-stick transmission in it. And I was talking to Pete, the owner of the company now, and him and his dad, Don, would, when they were scrapping cars back in the 70s, they had, they'd go load up cars around the county, and then they'd take them up to either the cities or down to Blue Earth. And so Don would, Pete was like 12 to 15 years old in that era. And so he was driving, and Don would sit and he would do the sticks for him.
Oh, wow.
And so they would go down back and forth in that range anyway. And till Pete got a hold of the sticks and figured them out. And
that's the way to learn, huh?
so they had, like for the plastics company, they had a company up in the cities that they had haul freight, or that's where they got a lot of their product from.
Sure.
And so Don would run it down up into the cities from Lakeville up, and then Pete would get to drive from Lakeville down or up to Lakeville. And
that's awesome.
so, but yeah, so Pete basically learned how to drive in this truck, when he was like 12.
Yeah.
And so then Don's still around. He's original. When he bought the truck, so I called him and talked to him. We got some of the original specs for it and
nice
thoughts for it and stuff. So.
Yeah. Do you know what gear ratio is back
that
here?
I haven't figured that out.
That's okay.
Yet.
That's okay.
So it's basically, since it came with a choice of axles, you had either Spicer or Eaton's, and same thing with the transmissions. They had either a Spicer or a Fuller in there, and
sure.
And we cleaned out trailers years ago of all the old junk, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And I specifically remember seeing, a brownie box, auxiliary box, and it's like, I'm sure it probably was for this truck.
Sure.
And,
yeah.
It went down through metal recycling, and it's probably in one of these new trucks somewhere. But
now spring ride, I'm sure it rode really rough.
How time changes and stuff. But.
Yeah, absolutely. Is the plan to keep the truck all original?
He wants to keep it all original, and he wants to try to find the original tranny and transmission setup and get back to a two-stick setup. And so I was just starting to do the research on the motor and where we can get parts for it. And, they made the motor from 59 all the way up to 79, I guess, the way it sounds. And so but trying to find parts online obviously is not. I've been looking on there and found a camshaft and found a water pump, and those are about the only two things so far that I've found. But
All right.
there.
Sorry, we got interrupted by the compressor. Keep going, Ron.
So yeah, the plan, like I say, is to restore it to original. I mean, that's the original paint that's on it and everything. It's never been repainted other than touched up a little bit. So he does have a couple other trucks that he's painted brown and cream, and so he's like, oh, do I want to keep it the original color, or do I want to take it and change it to the fleet color of the brown and cream? And so I think we'll keep, I'm probably pretty certain anyway that we'll stick to the blue color, just because that's what it was and what it is. So.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I mean, it's, you know, trying to find, you know, these spare parts. If we can find a new panel, it's great. Otherwise, we'll have to, you know, try to fix what we've got. And
Sure.
so, you know, there's rust on it, but I think it's, you know, fixable and replace, you know, a lot of it you can replace.
Sure.
Some of the panels will, you know, a C model truck is similar to the H. A lot of the same cab components, but other than, so we could, you know, find donor vehicles in C's, but.
Sure. I was going to ask you if you have a donor truck in mind.
Not yet.
Parts around? Okay.
Looking around, I see a couple of them around, just, you know, cabs. So they made the C model all the way up into 80s, so they're around a little bit more. The windshields and stuff are all similar, so.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, is this fiberglass?
Yeah, it's a fiberglass sleeper. It's bolted onto the cab. So they made these trucks from 1961 to 65. And so I don't know what the percentage of them actually had sleepers on them, but that's one of the, you know, benefits of this one, I guess, or being different anyhow. So
you bet.
And they did trial these, I guess, like in '59. They made, I'll say a handful, I don't know what the number was, but tried them out with fleets just to see if they could make the bridge laws and everything work. And so then they went into production in '61 and ended production in '65. So that's, this is the last year that they made this. So in 4 years, I don't know what their total numbers were. I mean, I haven't. I'll find that out as I go along, and we'll, you know, visit with the Ford Motor Company factory or the historians, I guess.
Sure.
Get some of that magic numbers. And yeah, I tried to use that battery, but it just wouldn't work for some reason. Wouldn't take a charge.
Just wasn't happening. Yeah.
So I did hook up a battery to it just to see if anything would work. But.
Are you going to stick with fuel tanks that are steel, or will you have to switch back to aluminum?
No, I think we'll just keep the originality. We'll probably end up either finding some new steel ones or getting these redone. But yeah, obviously, I mean, they're rusted out on the bottoms and stuff too. But
sure. And did somebody make the drum for this, or was that factory?
No, I think they made it after when they were like say when they were doing their car recycling stuff. They had a open-sided old car trailer, I guess, that they pulled, and I remember seeing that around when I first started here, and it's, you know, you could get five or six cars on it, I think, you know, from the old car haulers from the 50s and 60s there.
Sure.
They just kind of cut it apart and used what they needed, and so I think,
looks like the seats will be simple enough that you could probably get those recovered or something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the frames on all that stuff should be good, and just, you know, as the video, you guys just can't appreciate the smell coming out of the doors
That's right.
at this moment, but everybody kind of knows if you've done any restoration, knows what that smell is. So
absolutely. Tell me about this spring here. Does that assist for
that's the cab lift spring, and I'll tilt the cab here shortly, and then we can see how that all works. And
wow. And somebody sometime along the way added some wood behind the bumper. That was one thing that caught my eye 3 years ago when I was looking at this thing. Like, that's really pretty neat that's there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was just to, you know, to strengthen it, because I mean, it looks like it maybe had a curl in it at one time there.
Yeah.
And just straightened it out, and they were able to.
Yeah. So that might not stay, huh?
But the wood might not. You know, I suppose we could get a nice piece of oak and get her stained.
There you go.
Keep some of that original patina.
I love these are probably functional shutters too, I would think.
Yeah, they are. There's when pop the top, and then you can kind of see the shutter stats up on top of the radiator and all that. And you know, just looking at the wipers, having the two attachment points for the wipers. I mean, that had to been something fairly engineered in that time frame anyway. And so I think, you know, these, besides being able to get up there and clean your windshield, I mean, you could use these to tilt the cab over too, so.
You bet. Yeah. Should we tilt it? Shoot.
Yep.
I'm game if you are. All right.
We'll shut the door here.
Okay.
If you want to come over to this side, on the passenger side is where all the magic happens.
You bet. Now, what's the old cab over rule? You have to make sure you get everything cleaned out of the...
Yeah, make sure there's nothing in the bunk that's going to come through the windshield. Because this one only goes to like 45 degrees, so it's probably not quite as bad. But
Sure.
There are 3 different locks on the side here for the safety locks and everything else to hold the cab down. And so the main one is actually broke, so that's what you were feeling that first time.
Ah, I see.
But to get the other one, the safety lock, pull on that handle. And here's where your spring comes in handy.
Wow.
That's all there is to it.
Not bad.
There's a lock mechanism right here that comes into play, and all you gotta do is lift it up a little bit and
Sure.
tap that back, and then it'll fold right back down again. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, they need a little help on the spring. So this one's only got 1 spring on it. So I've seen pictures that some of them have had 2 springs, one on the other side, but this one never had it. And so yeah, I pulled the valve covers off. The motor's stuck, obviously, and pulled the valve covers off. And I mean, I swear to God, it was like it was just ran yesterday, because it's like it's nice and clean. There's oil sitting down in the galleys there and stuff.
Wow.
And, pulled the spark plugs out, and they were pretty ugly, some of them anyway. So I filled up the cylinders now with some mystery oil, and we're trying to get that freed up a little bit and see if we can get it to turn anyhow. And then I pulled the shifter out of the transmission just so you could see what was down inside the tranny there, and a little bit of rust on the very top, but you know, oil's clean. It didn't get all water filled or anything like that. And
Good.
I mean, the oil, when we pulled the dipstick, looked like it was just changed recently. So I mean, there's nice and clean oil in there and stuff. So being protected from the weather that way anyway. I think some of the cylinders maybe that had the exhaust valves open that's probably the ones that are causing us issues, because just the wind and weather and whatever else got up in there.
Yeah, that makes sense. It looks like a Holley 4-barrel.
Yep,
on top.
Holley 4-barrel carburetor. I took, you know, the air cleaner. I took that off just so I could get down into the transmission and get those parts out of it. Mm-hmm. It has a great big oil bath air cleaner in it, and
Sure.
it still had oil in it. And
Is it still points ignition
Yep.
in that era? Okay.
Yep. So the distributor's up in front up there, and coils laying on the side right there. And
Gotcha. Now this piece that stays up on top, is this?
that's
this
where
a
the shifter
air
lever
shifter? Okay.
would be attached to.
Got it. Okay. Yep. And you took the shifter out, and this would be an air cleaner right
Yep.
here, oil bath air cleaner. Okay.
Yep. And then, so those of you that are familiar with the transmissions and stuff, it's actually got a cable-operated range selector. Instead of pulling your lever from, you know, and using air to go from high to low range, it's actually got a cable-operated mechanism on it instead. So
I see. Okay. And maybe I'll go around to the other side too.
yeah. So the other side, the air compressor's, you know, stuffed down there in the front, up on the motor there, and then if you look up on top of the radiator, you see the shutter stat there in the top of the top radiator hose. Yeah. Well, that's the cylinder that operates it, and this here's what the temperature checks.
Got it.
You know, so you got air pressure going into that, and as soon as it gets, you know, the temps get coming out too hot, then it opens up that cylinder, open up the shutters.
That's neat.
So one of the things that I thought was very unique on this truck is if you look at your steering mechanisms, how they made all this work. So your main shaft's kind of coming down through the cab there into the gearbox, which is right here. And then they got this pivot, big ass pivot point right here to make it work down below. And so you got all kinds of different mechanical engineering going on there that it's like
some geometry to make all that happen. And do you suppose that's because some of these chassis were the higher ones and the lower ones, and so they were utilizing the same?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much they use, you know, between the C models, if they just went directly onto it, or you know, without looking at them. But it does have a hydraulic clutch on it, so they didn't have to have the linkage for the clutch.
Okay. Yep. There's your tag for the transmission. Sure.
And so that's the cable coming down into your range selector here.
Yes, sir. Is it a 2-speed rear differential in this one, or just
no,
a
just
single?
a single rear diff. But I guess they did, you know, just looking up information, they did make, Ford did have an option for a 2-speed rear axle too.
Sure.
So.
Huh.
Got air on it at all?
Hmm?
Is there air on this at all?
Oh yeah, we've got air compressors right there.
That is
It's all air brakes and air wipers. Yeah. So we, they say with the air compressor, I mean, it does have air. It was ordered with air brakes in it, and so. It's got regular S-cam brakes, and so back in the day, or in that era, they were kind of just switching from wedge brakes to S-cam brakes, and even the 72 Mac that we had wedge brakes on it. So to get the S-cams, you know, I'll say it was newer technology at that time. Or,
Probably safer that way too, I would imagine, huh?
yeah, a little more reliable.
More reliable. Sure.
I mean, the wedge brakes were good when if you could keep them lubricated and maintain them the way they were supposed to be maintained. But
And you're kind of a Mac guy anyway, aren't you?
yeah, so the company had Macs forever, and so it's like, some future video we can show you a 47 LJ and a 72 F model, and then we got the 80 Superliner that's restored, and
we should definitely do that. We'll make
we'll put a teaser out there. We'll just drop a little teaser, right?
Perfect. Love it.
So
sounds
but
great.
yeah, the radiator, you know, in order to check the radiator, they got that little brass can there, but behind the passenger seat, there's a door that you open up to get to that.
Oh wow!
And so you don't have to lift the cab to check your fluids or whatever.
Sure.
So
That makes sense.
but as you can see, I mean, like I say, it's not that hard to lift it. But when you got your everything full of gear, and you have to clean stuff out of it, and then without
Exactly.
It's, you know, when the trucks started going, you know, this 40-degree angle ain't bad, but when they did go full over the whole 90, and then that's when everything started falling through windshields. And so,
Yes.
you know, they say I only ever did it once, and you do it once, and then you remember that we don't do that again. So it's like on a 75 Kenworth, and it's like,
Well, you've had a few cabovers in your lifetime.
Yeah. So personally, I've got an 81 Marmon Cabover, and you did a video on that one too. And then I also got a 65 International Emeryville that I'm working on. So
Neat.
this getting near completion. So
Love it.
yeah, Cabover's kind of got a little spot right here. So
Absolutely. I love that. Well, you're not new to restoring trucks either. This is in your blood. So.
yeah, this will be number 4, I guess. And so it's like, but just maintaining the old stuff is fun.
Yeah.
So keep that history around.
That's
you
right.
know, and member of the ATHS. So it's like I go to all the antique truck shows. I got it in my blood in 2008, and it's no, I can't get it out. So it's like, you see all these others, and you're just like, well, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. I love it.
So,
Well, this is going to be a fun process to watch, because this is a really rare piece.
yeah.
You know, and so it's in good hands, and I'm glad that you're going to make this happen.
Yep, then, you know, it's not going to get done in a month or anything like that. It's
No.
going to
Yeah.
take some time, but we will get it back to probably its newest looking condition as we can anyhow. And,
Yep. Do you plan to take the cab off the chassis
yep, it'll
completely?
be probably off the chassis within the next week or two, and then go from there, I guess. And so, yeah, we'll just start working it, stripping it all the way down, and you know, and lubricate whatever needs to be repaired, replaced, painted, whatever else. Take it all apart and send the frame out and paint and get that sandblasted, painted, and start going back up again. So.
Yeah.
I usually figure about a 5-year project is about, you know, just based on that you don't work on it full time all the time.
Sure.
You know, if we were dedicated just to doing this, it'd be one thing, but
Yeah.
at Michaletz here, we're maintaining a fleet of 18 trucks that, you know, require every day, you know, maintenance or whatever, so.
And this will be used in museum or parades, things like that?
Yeah,
Is
it'll
that
go
kind of
to the
idea?
truck shows, and it'll, you know, it'll be collector plated or whatever, so that, you know, it's not going to go out and haul freight with it or anything. And
Right.
you know, we'll keep, they say, as much of it as original as possible. He does want to find another 2-stick transmission to put back into it, the tranny and auxiliary box and stuff. And you have to rebuild the original motor so that, I mean, it is, you know, the chassis, the serial numbers match up or whatever you want to call it. And
Yeah.
so that's one of those famous ones that ran when it was parked, right?
That's right.
Everybody,
Yep.
you know, famous
that
last
right.
words, ran when
Yeah,
parked.
exactly.
So,
Great. Well, I can't wait to catch up with you another year or two down the road, and we'll see the progress of it.
alrighty.
That sounds great.
Look forward to it.
Well, Ron, thank you for taking the time to show us around. Well, that was a fantastic opportunity, and I love being able to bring you guys along with me on adventures like that sometimes just turn into an even cooler experience that will generate more opportunities different times. And so I'm definitely going to keep you guys posted on the progress of this particular Ford truck, and Ron agreed to do a walk-around tour of all the other trucks that are in the Michaletz trucking collection, and there's some sweethearts, let me tell you. So anyway, stay tuned to this channel, the Flannel channel right here, and I'll bring you guys more updates and more videos like this. If this is the kind of content you enjoy, you know what to do. I appreciate you guys doing all the things that help the channel and make it grow. So, all right, until next time, I'll catch you later. Peace and grease.